everybody, it's Linda G, and I'm here with your favorite Andre at Astrology
Hi,
Alert.
everyone.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, yes.
So you live in New Zealand, right?
Yeah, I live in New Zealand, yeah.
I get everybody confused. No, I know you're up north, but anyway.
I live in the West
So
Coast
we
of
had
New
some
Zealand.
exciting stuff. You took a look at some good stuff. Shall we start off with Justice Thomas? No, actually, let's start off with Dianne Feinstein. Let me tell you why. Because Feinstein, now you heard, or you may not have heard, what's his name from the South Carolina, Lindsey Graham said,
Lindsey Graham, yeah.
he said that they wouldn't approve a replacement for Dianne because they're going to try to put those crazy judges in. Like the judges Trump put in weren't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So Dianne had said, I will step out of the committee if the Republicans do not work with you on replacing me, then I will consider stepping down. But I got this flash, so I'm just going to say this out loud. You guys are hearing it here first. I saw her being furious at them not, because listen, there's going to come a time they need the Democrats to work with them. Everybody theirs is 89 years old, geriatrics there. And so I saw her just being furious, and I saw her putting some old gown on and going down there looking like hell just to sit there and put through some judges. But then I feel Violetta felt like she collapses or she's not able to handle it. But I feel that she's really sick and she might push herself and try to do it, and then it doesn't work out, and then she steps down. What do you think?
Well, the thing I see in her chart is that it's funny. Remember we talked about a couple of sessions back about people are asking about Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto and Aquarius, it's just at the very beginning between now, like April and May, because by June 10th, it backtracks into Capricorn again. It just did this, it's doing this little thing, but it's in a very unfavorable health place for Dianne Feinstein. And it's why she's ailing. This thing with shingles, if it catches you, it can just linger and linger and linger. So
and she's 89 years old.
89 years old, and you don't want to catch anything, and probably shingles one of the worst because it kind of hangs in there. So that would suggest though that by the summer she is feeling better. And there have been people that I've heard say that she is going to be back. It's just going to take her a few weeks. And I'm not hearing anything from the Republicans, by the way. They're not going to cooperate. Mitt Romney, who's usually the one senator that tends to, make some sense and be somewhat normal, he said, no way are we going to agree to that.
Susan Collins too.
Yeah, no, because they don't want to confirm any judges. They just don't want to do it. So, but you're saying you're seeing her come back. And
I see her coming back, maybe just for a little bit, but this was a vision I had. Like, she's gathering her clothes, she's going in, she's looking frumpy and terrible, and people are saying, are you sure you should be here? That's a hit I got. I could be totally wrong.
Well, I mean, the only way they can confirm judges is that way, because they cannot replace her right away. That's not going to work. You have to call a special election and do all that. And so
no, our governor can replace her right away.
Are you sure? Because that's not
yes. Because they were talking about it. He said if Dianne, anything happened, Dianne left before her season was over, he would put in a Black Democrat, female.
Really? Okay. Well, then what you're saying then is that she could make that decision in order to move the thing forward.
Yeah, and he could comfortably replace her with someone else, but it would just be temporary till the voting thing comes up.
Till the voting happened, right? But then that person would be on the committee.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I, quite honestly, my advice to Dianne Feinstein is maybe she should think about stepping down.
Because she said that. Sorry. She said if the Republicans don't play ball with you, then I'll think about stepping down. But now I'm thinking she's thinking, F them, I'm coming back.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if she does come back like pretty soon, she's in the midst of that cycle still, and it's not a good cycle. That cycle is I keep seeing it over and over and over with health stuff, And you don't want to be 89 years old with shingles and pushing it like that. No, I wouldn't do that.
Right, right.
But yeah, so.
So, the other thing is they can't do this investigation on Justice Thomas without her vote.
Yeah.
They're one vote short.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, yeah. And Thomas is that's another, example of the rampant corruption out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's remarkable because they keep finding new things, but the way they've got things set up, it's next to impossible to call them to task because they have no mechanism for it. And
Except
also,
that he did do something illegal with that property, selling that property and not reporting it. That is illegal.
yeah. Although, do you see Merrick Garland taking that up? Because that's the only way you can, can you imagine?
Well,
now
it's
that's
in
another
Merrick
thing.
Garland's lap now, so let's cross our fingers. But I see something's going to happen with Jenny Thomas.
Yeah,
I
and that's
see him having to step down. So tell us what you saw in his chart.
yeah. Well, that Thomas, I continue to say that his bigger problem extends longer than this, and it's the health thing again. There's a health connection there. Actually, his health alignment is worse than Feinstein's the more time passes. It's really quite dangerous. But the thing is with Ginny, she's her Pisces sun in the early degrees, right? So Saturn is going through there starting very soon, like next month, and it doesn't really go till next February. And that, in the context of what's going on, alone on what's happening to her husband, is likely going to have her quite worried and upset and so forth. But I could also see other stuff because she's in the middle of the whole thing that happened with the election, and Jack Smith is looking at all kinds of things. So how do we know that he's not going to find something relating to her? Because she was texting all kinds of things, and I think the woman is a bit loopy too. There's something off about her. I think she used to be at one point part of a cult or something. Isn't that what I heard?
She was, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of wondering about her, and people like this, they're always stepping in the mud. And the thing is, when you get Saturn visiting you, Saturn always calls you to account and goes, remember you were doing that? Here it is. Now you got to pay. So I wouldn't be too optimistic about her. No, it's problematic. Yeah. And I would guess that we may hear something as early as next month for her. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's possible.
So wasn't next month like the big deal coming up for a lot of people?
Yeah, there are a number of people with their planets right in the Saturn line there. Like MTG is another one. She's running around making noise. I don't know exactly what it is, but I mean, could be any number of points, right? Because with her, oh, that's another one. Wasn't she also? She was looking for pardons back in.
Oh yes, she just started too.
Yeah, so how good
she was up there in some committee hearing and literally called somebody a liar. I can't remember who it was. She was very rude. You're a liar, she said. And the new guy, Goldman, he asked to speak to the representative of this committee, and he said, section such and such and such and such says if a person interviewing, one of us interviewing, makes those kind of comments that you're a liar, they're cut out. And so not only did the guy, who was a Republican, redact her remarks, but she couldn't ask any more questions.
Yeah, it's so strange that the Republican Party these days, they're sore losers and sore winners. They can't be happy no matter what happens because they always keep thinking we're not getting our way, But it's because your way is crazy. They're just crazy people. What they did in New York there, that whole thing with Alvin Bragg. I mean, kind of insanity is that? They're sitting there talking to victims of crime and all this other stuff. What's that got to do with it?
Right.
When New York is known to be a safer city than where that degenerate Jim Jordan comes from, where they have crime that is far worse. I mean, it's unbelievable. But everything with them it's like they've learned from Trump. Everything is messaging. Let's just put a message out there.
Yeah, and they're not listening when people saying, hey, dude, your crime rate is way high.
No.
He doesn't even hear them.
By the way, Goldman is not only is he more intelligent, but it isn't that hard to be more intelligent than MTG, but he's also more sensible. He got into a thing where one of the New York crime victims got mad at him and thought it was a woman, and she thought she was being insulted and started screaming, and he just pulled back. He let her do the screaming. He's not going to say to her, lady, sit down and, just
Right.
stop. Just stop, because if you keep going, then you make yourself the story. So this is the thing you see over and over. I mean, the Republican Party, what is the Republican Party these days? Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene screaming and yelling and making noise.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time saying things that aren't even true.
Well,
or
some
using-
guy on there said he was a Democrat and he was not. He's a Republican. But he told the committee that he was a Democrat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of par for the course. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting these next couple of months, the new developments that come out, new people that are being potentially targeted or run into problems, because it's starting to sound too like the Georgia thing is getting closer, because some of those people, I think the people that were doing the fake elector schemes are now helping Fani Willis, or maybe she gave them some kind of immunity.
She did.
Right. So then that's another problem, because this is the thing. I mean, it's so much easier to be mostly honest than mostly criminal.
Right. Right.
People keep looking for you, and then, eventually they find something. It's like that. It's the nature of it. It's like,
Apparently, they're all busting each other to get around each other, to tattletale on each other.
yeah, well, when you start to see your own freedom at risk, and your own pocketbook and so on, most people react that way, because everybody in the end defends their own territory. So yeah, it's
Well,
like
I'll
that.
tell you who's going down hard. I mean, Trump is still, but DeSatan, he's going down hard. Oh my God.
He's having a hard time. I know he's having a war with Mickey Mouse. So,
Yeah, but even the ex-president Trump and Chris Christie said, get off Mickey Mouse. And I even wrote him, I said, let the families who want to go to Disneyland, go to Disneyland. It's free will. Let the families decide. It's not up to you to decide what they can and can't do.
yeah, but
He's
sore.
going on about that woke thing. I'm so sick of hearing it.
Well, he's sore because Disney kind of outflanked him, and he was trying to corral them, and then they made a maneuver and disempowered this thing that he was trying to do. And so, now he's all sore, but it's a problem. I mean, Disney employs a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
You can't also, this idea, they're going to put a theme park next to Disney. There were these people on CNN splitting themselves laughing. They had a panel and they were laughing, falling off their chairs, saying, oh yeah, can you imagine some father saying we're going to take you to the other theme park. That's gonna play really well.
Oh,
right?
and he was talking about opening a prison there too.
Yeah, exactly. A prison next.
I have power and I can make your life miserable. Nobody cares, dude, because when he's melted into the ground, Disney will still be there.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing. If you look at it overall, it's the Trump effect. He's hijacked the party, so then they have to keep doing Trumpism, but Trumpism only works on the base level, on the primary level. So then now they're all headed into the 24 election with women really upset for good reason, right? With people really upset about the gun problem. You've got two huge problems there that are very hard to solve. And if you keep doing things to make it worse, what do you think Democrats are going to paint you as when you go into 24? No, that's the guy that, he just put in a 6-week ban, because that's what they did in Florida, right? How does that help?
Isn't that interesting? He did it in the middle of the night and he doesn't even talk about it because he knew it was wrong.
Yeah, because he knows that it's unpopular. He knows that it's unpopular, but for his base, he has to do that, or they'll paint him as being a traitor, right? But
Right.
It's never good. It's never good for a party to let the fringe take over. But that's what Trump does. Trump's method is to look after himself, and he's got to keep those
Right.
radicals, right?
Although he caught wind, what was it that released that they were going to ban abortions? One of the justices, they did that big investigation. They didn't check the justices. They checked everybody else and they found nothing. But there was a leak that the SCOTUS was getting ready to ban abortions or throw it back to the state. Throw it back to the state. When Trump heard that, he got really freaked out. He said that's going to cause the Republicans to lose, and he was right.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. But see, there you see the double talk, right? Because this guy was instrumental in bringing in 3 justices. He was so adamant that he would only appoint people who would overturn Roe v. Wade. But it was like, well, yeah, they're going to overturn it, but not really. And then they did it. And now they've got a problem, right? Because it's so unpopular. But this is, by the way, once again, Trump is a loser. The man does nothing right. He was bankrupting casinos. He does nothing. He can't sell steaks. He can't do anything. Never get near a person like this, right?
Right.
He's just a talker, blah, 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 talk, talk, talk. But he's very effective at talking. He gets people to follow him. It's in a way, it's a mystery to me. I did see something in his chart. He's got this really powerful part of his chart that is exactly like Hitler's, in that they're both, because Hitler was basically an orator. He would talk. And I mean, if you listen to what he was saying, it's just total nonsense. He was saying, you know, insanity. Germany's going to come back. Blah, blah, blah. They're following this guy and they followed him into a ditch. Horrible. Same with Trump. They, you know, they kind of sense, oh yeah, he's on our team.
Make America great again.
Make America great. But it's really about the disaffected white, you know, it's a white supremacy message. It's that sense of we should be in charge. We should go back to when we were more in charge. But it's a loser because of who the man is. You know, he just doesn't know how to do anything straight. The day before the Fox thing, he was tweeting in all caps that Fox should say that everything he said was true, that was the way to solve the problem. That was not the way to solve the problem. Fox had to say the opposite. They had to say, pull back. They didn't say very much, but they paid out a ton of money because they know that what they said were a bunch of lies.
Well,
right?
somebody said, you and Mel said there was going to be a trial. There was a trial. There was a trial with all the people who were going to give evidence.
Yes. Well, there wasn't.
They had tapes, they had emails, all of that stuff was gathered up. They picked 12 jurors. They picked 12 more. Everything was ready to go. But when that judge said, I'm going to turn Fox News for a special counsel because I think something criminal's going on. Boom.
Yeah, that was that master or whatever that is.
So a special counsel,
Yeah.
and apparently they couldn't get to the table fast enough. I'm sure what they were offering wasn't enough. Dominion really wanted to make a point and have them admit that they were guilty, which they did. They did sort of say something, not nearly what they should have. But $798 million is 3/4 of what they asked for. That's nothing to put your nose up to. And
it's a lot of money.
Here's the other key. Cash money given within the next few days. If they had gone to court, even though they won, and they would have won, that they would have played that out till the cows come home. Dominion needed the money, and this actually saved Dominion because they're getting their cash, a somewhat apology. Now apparently I thought the special counsel still goes. You said no.
No, that ends. But looking at the Fox chart, because when you see something like this, it's still a pretty big hit. Number one, they had to pay a bunch of money. I think they have something like $4 billion in the bank and they make $13 billion a year. It's not a big hit that way. The problem is there's that other company, Smartmatic. They're suing for $2.7 billion. How are they not going to get a settlement?
Right. And somebody on Fox News, not Fox News, on the news, Glenn Kirshner, he said, they can even ask, Your Honor, these people are known to do this. The last judge ordered a special counsel. We think they should.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it's not over. The Fox chart, they're not clear until next year. There is more coming. I can almost guarantee it. This is not the end for Fox. Fox is still.
And Dominion still is going to sue the pillow guy.
But that's separate though. That's the pillow guy. The pillow guy has his own problems. The pillow guy, when I looked at his chart, it's this year. This year, he's got a major possibility of getting hit for a major loss of cash. But Fox, it's even broader, and it goes all the way into next year. And with Fox, it's a bigger problem because one individual, whatever, right? You lose, you win, you declare bankruptcy. Fox is like a big institution that has a lot of influence. Keeping them like this, under constant watch and constant danger is not good for the whole Republican movement and so forth. Not to mention that it's going to scare them in going into 2024, because now they've been advised, if you step over the line, things can get really ugly, right?
Right.
And rightfully so. They were lying through their teeth. I mean, it wasn't a small thing. They were doing big lies. They were just parading that crazy lunatic Sidney Powell with her. She was bringing in.
She's getting sued too.
Yeah, her. I haven't looked at hers in a while, but it wouldn't surprise me if she also at some point had to pay the price, because
How about Giuliani? Have you looked at him in a while?
Giuliani's is a wreck. That guy's chart for years. He's maneuvered himself into a really bad situation because of all that he did during that period. So I bet you anything he's going to be part of that Georgia thing. And
Yes.
Yeah.
And Giuliani and the Rottweiler, between the two of them, with that lies that Trump held on because he wanted to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
He needed to believe it. And that's when he was trying to make the Rottweiler one of the big wigs in the Capitol. That's when Jared and everybody went crazy and said, no, don't put her in. She thought she was going to be, because they were flowing out lies. And he wanted to believe it, and it's his fault too, because he's a big boy. He wanted to believe the lies, but because of these people, Fox News ended up losing.
Yeah, no, and this is the thing that for a lot of people, they get impatient. They want things to happen quickly and so on, which they never do, legally speaking. They always take time. But I see all these markers. Look at all the people. For example, we have not. One of the things that was said is there has not been a settlement. Defamation is very hard to prove. Very hard. I heard Joe Scarborough say that he had been threatened by people with murder, accused of murder. Crazy. He says, "Well, can't I sue?" And lawyers would say to him, "No, you can't, because you have to prove state of mind, and it's very hard. No matter what you may think, it's really obvious, not easy to do." Well, Fox just had to pay a ton of money for defamation, right? So that's a new thing. And the other thing is, when was the last time the feds were able to convict anyone on sedition? Back in the 1930s, 40s.
Yes.
There were Nazis running around. They couldn't convict them. And you would have to think, back then people were harsher. There was still a lot of death penalty stuff. People were spying. How could they not convict some of these thugs back in the 40s? They couldn't do it. There are a number of people in jail now from the Proud Boys. So you can tell that, and these are the juries, these are the peers, people are watching. You can tell that there's a lot of pushback. It's not a simple thing, you can just do this and it's going to be okay. No, it's not okay. And it's being pushed back. But yeah, I agree. I wish that it could just be snap my fingers and overnight everything is perfect again. It won't be. And even though my feeling is this election in 24, it's on track to be another major problem for these people because of the way they're running it, the Republicans, right? They're putting themselves in a box. Don't expect it to be easy peasy either. Expect it to be like when you're watching a sports game where your team is better, but there's always a chance you could lose. So you're kind of wondering, we got to keep going. But I still, maintain optimism about it, with the expectation that don't expect them to play clean either. None of them.
Right.
This whole crew, Lindsey Graham, all of them. There are a couple there, 2 or 3. The majority, that guy, what's his name? Chuck Grassley, another liar, goes on there saying the IRS is going to come to your house with AR-15s. What are you talking about? Who are you talking to? It's what they do.
Wasn't he mad because one of the things that got passed before, just not too recently, that the IRS got a whole bunch more people working with them?
Yeah.
So they can answer the phones and stuff.
Exactly. And he had done, I remember that I was watching, and it's just classic. It's almost like a technique. When they hear bad news, something happens that is really obviously bad, they send some guy, it was him in that case, he went on Fox and he started talking nonsense. Like, oh yeah, they are AR-15, they're going to be knocking on your door to collect taxes. Like, what is this? Like, this is like Nazi Germany, literally.
Right.
The IRS. Yeah. Come on. The IRS will phone you or send you a letter.
I wish you could sue him for saying that, because that's false.
Right, right. But I mean, that's the thing, right? This is the problem is what you're seeing is democracy at the edges, right? Democracy gives you freedoms, and a lot of these people, they exploit the freedoms. They
Yeah.
basically do indecent things. Trump is top of the list. He breaks through all the barriers, and it degenerates the democracy because you expect democracy is a group of people agreeing to self-rule themselves by being decent. But if you get indecent characters, then what do? Then you have to make laws, to force them into it, which I
Right.
think will end up happening. Like, this thing with Clarence Thomas, I think in the long run, it is what leads to change because people see it and they say, this is no good. You can't have a judge, doing this, hanging around this billionaire guy who's got statues or busts of Nazi memorabilia, or people that were in the Nazi regime. This is not a good look. This is bad. So eventually you get changes. So in that way, he helps democracy move forward.
Right.
But in the
But
middle,
I'm
we're all
telling
thinking,
you, I see Thomas like this, like, what are you going to do about it?
oh yeah, no, for sure. That's not a good. But who was saying that? Was it you that you said you saw multiple judges? I thought I heard someone say this, that there might be a whole scale change in the court where Thomas and Roberts and someone else leave the court.
Yeah,
completely.
I saw him, a lot of psychics as well as myself saw 3. So he's already got 1 in there, President Biden, and I think 2 more. I think it could be Justice Thomas and Roberts. Roberts, I feel, is going to have to leave.
Well, that would change the court completely, right?
Oh, then we get somebody in charge that's probably, not afraid of the other people. He won't assist anybody with making sure this guy Thomas pays for what he's doing. He did something illegal, and because Dianne Feinstein's out of the picture, we can't get him to be observed. So we got to do something.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, he definitely broadcasted, but I think from the astrology, he's the most likely to leave because he has to leave from not feeling well, something along those lines.
This
But
is
again,
a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, but it's not right away though. That would really surprise me. This type of thing usually tilts more like into the next election, post-election, some kind of thing like that, where he's forced to leave. Yeah.
Now, have you had a hit on, I wouldn't even doubt if Justice Roberts, this is a lot of pressure. He has epilepsy. He may have a couple of grand mals and be out of the picture. Who knows? Have you had a look-see at Putin or the Ukraine at all?
I've tuned that out. My feeling with the Ukraine is that I'm waiting to see the shift in May when there's a Jupiter switch there.
Okay.
And I think it extends next year. Like it's sort of one of those slow things where at some point it has to change because the Russian thing is crumbling. They're not achieving what they're trying to achieve. But
well, what gets me is that Russian gal from the United States Navy, who's a Russia propagandist, that got a hold of that kid's information. Because when I was looking at the information that was released illegally, I felt the hands of Russia on it. Well, she was the one. She's a Russian propagandist. She's the one that crudely changed the numbers to make it look like Russia didn't lose as many people as they've lost. But the surprising part about the release of this information was, and I even double checked it because I wanted to make sure what this person was saying was correct. Apparently, they're talking about Netanyahu was in the middle of the Trump presidency for 2016, and they assisted Trump in winning. Russia did their thing too, but Netanyahu was the one that was right in there, and he said, if you win, you have to promise to announce Israel as whatever he announced. Remember, he wasn't president but a week, and he did something with Israel. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That was an agreement with them helping. So apparently this guy said, Mueller even said, it wasn't necessarily Russia that was in the middle of this. They did outside things, but no, they were giving fake news. So I looked it up, and sure enough, the Mueller report didn't say Russia was the one that got him in there.
So what did Netanyahu do to help Trump?
I guess I can't remember. You'll have to look it up, Google it. I'm telling you, he did some pretty significant things. And if he was doing this, you're going to have to announce something about Israel.
Well, I mean, the thing is that you can see a pattern too, where right-wing individuals back in 2016, it was kind of a worldwide problem, and it still sort of is, but you can see it's also fading. And to me, this matches, I've said this a number of times, that it matches what happened in the 1930s. There was this period where the fascistic thing was rising, and then it turned, right? And it was as Pluto was getting out of Cancer, now it's getting out of Capricorn, and it's switching signs, and the same thing. But it's at a cost. I mean, you know, because you can look back in a history book and go, oh, that's when it changed. If you really look at what happened, that was pretty bad. I mean, they had to go through a lot of suffering. And we're kind of in that now. And my prayer is that we don't need to get into major bloodshed, because I think in the upcoming years, there'll be more freedoms, but at a cost, because you're getting a lot of resistance from people who don't like that, right? They just don't like the idea that, it's really the idea that more people should be prosperous rather than centering everything, you know, in a group, just in a small group that has the power, and everybody else has to just, you know, follow along with it.
It's just interesting. We used to have Russia up on a pedestal. What a great army they had. And, you know, they're nothing burger. They ended up really, they do have stuff, but they couldn't take over the Ukraine. They thought they were going to go in there easy peasy.
Yeah, well, that's often the thing that people don't realize, that democracy, even though it's really messy and you've got so many voices getting a say, and you kind of wonder, like, how does anything even get done? But you notice that democratic countries, especially the US, if you put it at the top, it's a pretty disciplined army. And then people say, oh, China is very top down. So you can almost expect that they're going to make more mistakes, because instead of being like, they should be arguing about things and discussing things and hearing points of view. When you start to only follow one person, pretty soon they're telling him what he wants to hear. And pretty soon, that's what happened to Putin. Oh yeah, the army's fine. Don't worry, we're going to win this really easily. They should have said, no, there's a problem. We're not going to win anything. We're not going to win squat. We're going to lose. But you couldn't even say that. Remember that meeting they had where he was in that big table, and one of them spoke up and said, I'm not sure. And he said, what? And the guy immediately backtracked and said, no, yeah, everything is fine.
Because they all fall out of windows.
Right, because it's like the top guy. This is very Hitlerian too. Hitler, the same thing. He reached the point where nobody wanted to say anything to him, because it was his way or the highway, and things could go really bad for you if you open your mouth. That's not a good system. Then you get inefficiencies and you end up with losses, right? So yeah, I see Russia, you know, crumbling that way, not becoming a factor as a result, right?
And I see Satan is a lot like that.
Yeah, no.
Very temperamental, doesn't want you to argue with him.
Yeah, no, and again, they're really good local strategies. Like, if you want to be the king of the village, you know, talk like that. But when you spread it out to the country, it's not a good plan, because
right. And 2.5 million people did not vote in Florida.
And when
in the last election when he won governor.
I think Florida is a bit of a, it's actually tighter than I think the DeSantis win reflects. Like, if you notice, when he got in power, he barely beat the other guy by a few thousand votes. And then in the next election, the gap was bigger. But I see Florida going back to being a razor sharp.
It's the young people. The young people are going to get in there and start making a difference.
Yeah, and the young people are most worked up about the guns, rightfully so. Because you imagine going to school.
And also free will as far as what your health with a child and stuff. You know what's interesting? No abortion. Absolutely not. But nothing there. Listen, we're going to help these women that have these children. We're going to make sure, you know, the woman has health care. No, there was just somebody, I don't know what state, I just saw it on the news, but this person, it's not a federal, it's a state, said, you know, that as much as she feels bad about the 10-year-old having a child, Mother Nature made a woman to have a child, so she has to have that child, rape or no rape.
Yeah,
Then
great.
she said something else about that after that, called her a child. Well, is she a woman or is she a child? Because she definitely wasn't designed to have children at 10 years old. But she insisted, you got to keep that baby and make her have that baby.
Yeah, but we're not, this is not, this is the crazy part. You could have argued like this in the 1950s. You can't do that now. Women have awakened. You can't do that. They will come and find you. They will hunt you down, and they also talk to each other. It's a really bad idea. It's not
And
going to
also
work.
women have a taste of what some freedom. Even
Yes,
when
of
I was
course.
growing up, I couldn't have a credit card till 1971. Of course, I was just coming out of high school, but I came into school where you were still had to wear a dress. You couldn't wear sandals,
Mhm.
everything was on the woman.
Yeah, no, but not anymore. Not anymore. And this is like, it's the same logic where you notice that in contrast to, if you go back to the period of the Second World War, when the world was in chaos, information moves really quickly now. And it's really hard to hide it. For people that say, oh, there's all this fake stuff. Yeah, but there's also a lot of true stuff. They find out pretty quickly. So if you start doing something phony, fake, etc., you get caught more quickly, right?
Right.
And news, who would have known in the 1940s what was going on with the Russian army, blah, blah, blah. No one would have known that. They would hide it, tell you a story. They still try to do that, though. Their whole game is disinform, create lies, but it has less traction, right? And look what's happened. Finland is now part of NATO. That border is now, they're totally encircled. The very thing he didn't want, right? He wanted to take it away. And I mean, I hear his point, though. Putin's point is that the Soviet Empire had all those states in front. Those states were like a buffer zone. But that assumes that anyone wants to invade Russia. For what? Why do you want to invade Russia? What are you going to find in Russia? There's no purpose. So then it makes it zero sense. And the other thing is they left because they were unhappy with being part of what was really a slave system, in the Soviet Union. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's life. You lost those people because they don't want to be with you. And your solution is to say, well, they're part of our system because they've always been part of the empire. Good luck with that, right? And now they're in NATO. I totally see the Ukraine becoming part of NATO eventually.
Oh,
For sure. Yeah.
Is Poland part of NATO?
Yeah, Poland is part of NATO. And by the way, they should be. Have you studied Poland's history?
No.
They were like a rag doll. They were being attacked by Russia, by Germany. It was like a horrible place to live. They were being exploited. No wonder now they say, middle finger to you. We'll be armed to the teeth and put soldiers here. And
there you
we're not
go.
going to let. Yeah, because
and they were the ones that opened their doors wide open for the people of Ukraine to come in.
Yeah, which is a great sign because they're not particularly friendly with the Ukraine from the things that have happened in the past. But even they could tell, okay, well, this is the lesser of two evils because.
Well, yeah, Putin was terrible. So if you're looking at charts, I know you do a lot of personal charts. Is there anything in particular you want to bring up coming up that we need to look at? Do we have an eclipse coming up or anything?
There's a solar. We're kind of on it now. I mean, speaking of that, it's imminent. I think it's in the middle of the night. Like a solar is the sun and the moon when there's a new moon. That's how you get a solar eclipse because the moon hides the sun. It's kind of in the same line as the sun, so then blocks the sun. When you get a lunar eclipse, it's the moon is being blocked by the earth type thing. So the one we're in now is a solar eclipse, but people make a lot of these eclipses, and mostly they affect you kind of like how I said earlier. When you talk Pluto and any planet, it's the reason Pluto is important for Feinstein is because it's affecting her planet directly, or Ginny Thomas is getting a Saturn thing, so it's affecting her. But someone else, no, not that much. This eclipse is right at the very end of Aries. And so if you have planets at the very end of Aries or Capricorn or Libra or Cancer, then you'll feel it more. But it's not the end of the world. I mean, people are always saying, oh, that's all I ever read. There's an eclipse coming and that's it. It's all going to fall apart. Weren't we saying this a month ago? You were telling me, oh, people are saying March. The whole world is going to go up in fire. based on whatever. The planets are switching. The world is ending. Why?
Did I say that?
No, you didn't say
Oh.
that. You said that people were saying that. You
Oh,
brought
no,
it up.
'cause-
You were saying to me, I keep reading I keep seeing these astrological things, the
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah.
end. And I remember thinking, I mean, I don't know, I mean, a little bit, but not, no.
Well,
Yeah.
that none of us human forms can tell you when the world's gonna end.
Yeah, no, but it was like the exaggerated, this thing is gonna be a disaster because if anything, I think things picked up for the good because it was pretty well when Saturn entered Pisces that we heard about Trump's indictment.
Yes.
It's what I expected, that he was going to face the music starting in March, which is what's happening, right? Because
So did you look at Jim Jordan then? Going to New York or anything? Or?
Jim Jordan, no, I didn't check him other than that he's not in a great place, predictably. He's just kind of flailing around. I mean, Jordan is another loser. I'm sorry, by the way, did you know that Boehner, remember him?
Yeah.
He said back then to him, Boehner was like the way Boehner spoke. He said Ted Cruz is like a demon incarnate.
Yeah, he called him a demon.
And he said, same with Jim Jordan. He's just an irascible individual. All he's doing is causing problems, destroying things. There are people that you see them in politics and they create things, bring things into the world, and then there are people who do nothing. Jordan he's a destroyer. He's never passed a bill in his entire career. Never.
Right.
No, there he is, not one. Lindsey Graham is another genius, right? What is he doing? He plays golf with the ex-president, makes a lot of noise, cries on TV. What's he accomplishing? Nothing. There are a lot of these people. That's another one, by the way, that will have problems, I think.
Lindsey Graham.
Because he's got another long swath and because he's in the middle of a court case where his name is being mentioned.
I think that Georgia case is going to hit him.
Yeah, well, he was making calls asking for things he shouldn't be asking for. Then he said, "Oh, it was in my role as a senator."
Oh my God! If a Democrat went to a different state and made some announcements or checked on voting, the Republicans would be through the roof. But it's okay for them to go to a state that doesn't belong to them and ask for favors.
Yeah, no, and it's been building. If you look at the pattern in the last number of years, it was building already pre the Trump years, because I remember seeing blatant lying already in the Obama years. There were some senator like Cruz would go on TV and say the total opposite of what was happening. I remember thinking,
oh yeah, he's a big time liar.
But it really accelerated with Trump because Trump lies at the rate that he breathes. He just lies. So then it's like it became this thing that they do, and now they're captive of it, and until it shakes up. And I think with that, I would point to, I've said this quite a bit, and I firmly believe it, that it'll be, as we go into 25, then you get Pluto completely out. It's going to be in Aquarius till 2042, major new cycle. And Neptune gets out of Pisces. Neptune in Pisces has been great from 2011 till now. It has been fabulous for bringing in all kinds of information on film. Like, I can't believe what you can find on YouTube now. So many great teachings you can find.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
But that's the upside. The downside is the lies. I mean, the crazy idea that there can be an entire ecosystem of people that are living in this bubble of insanity, where they think the opposite of what is happening. But what I say to those people is, because people will say to me, "Oh, you just read the mainstream press, fake news." So here's my answer to that: the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN. I read those because they tell me approximately what is going to happen. Okay, it's very simple. If I follow your garbage news, that ain't going to happen. They tell me the opposite. So I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to read something that says John F. Kennedy Jr. is coming back to Dallas. No, that to me doesn't make any sense. Although, by the way, it's just common sense. I mean, please, come on. Some of the stuff is so foolish.
Oh, I know.
That it amazes me.
He's arriving any day now. And this Robert F. Kennedy, God bless him. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Apparently his mom was really mean to him. She used to beat him with a brush. He was the eldest son, Robert Kennedy. And sent him off to boarding school, and then he made bets of how many women he could get. He was insatiable back in the day. But everything, he's like a Republican, or like a QAnon, but in a Democrat outfit. So the Republicans are thrilled he's running, but I don't even see him taking a good chunk of Biden stuff. I don't see people voting for him.
No, I continue to, I mean, I know that with Biden is a really interesting case in that no one is ever happy with him. And yet, look how much he's done, right? And even now, lots of Democrats, oh, you know, Biden. Maybe, but he's got the planets. He's got the planets to carry him through. So
Okay.
I do agree. I agree 100%. Biden has lost a step. He was quite a bit stronger when he was vice president. He had better communication powers. He's
Yes.
not at that level. But look who he's running against.
Oh,
That helps you a lot. I mean, quite often, you know, when you're in a competition, it helps a lot when your opponent is weaker. It makes you look better, even
Yeah.
if you are already pretty good. For Biden, it's a much easier case to make when you're running against people like Trump, DeSantis. And even if you take someone, I've heard this going around, like, what's your sense? Because some psychics have said, no, it won't be DeSantis or Trump. It'll be someone different.
feeling like it'll be Trump.
Like it could
But
be
he's
Trump.
saying a more moderate person, but Trump
Well-
is eating the young right now. I don't care if how many convictions he gets, he still thinks he could win.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think my feeling is Trump, I would be amazed to see him actually run, that he could get that far, because the pressure is going to intensify so much. And I think there comes a point where he could be vulnerable to a DeSantis or another figure just because he'll seem unelectable. Like I've come across a number of, Republican voters, Republican focus groups where they say, how's this guy going to win? I mean, he's got 25%, but he's got so much going against him. And the planets are horrible. They're
I
totally
hope he
horrible.
runs.
Well, I know, it'd be perfect. It'd be
Because it'll
perfect.
be one last hurrah with being a loser.
Yeah, but precisely, yeah.
But somebody more, here's your deal. He's got 80% of the Republicans. Okay, so the ones that are cray-cray, the QAnon, and they're angry, they wouldn't vote for somebody else. They just wouldn't vote.
Well, that doesn't help you.
I know, but it helps us.
No, right, exactly, right. That's the thing. Is that it's all in the motivation to vote. And that's another problem, because the current environment, if it wasn't already bad enough, when you've got this kind of action, illegality, criminality going around, getting people worried, what if Trump runs again? That gets more Democrats to vote. And then you throw on top of that the action with women and with guns. That is what I call doing everything backward. I would be dismayed to be on the Republican team. If I were on that team, I'd be thinking, where are we going with this? Like, is this to win or to lose on purpose? How does this work?
Look at those young men that got kicked out in Tennessee. They're making a huge dent. They're
Right.
not, they woke the sleeping giant, because people are coming out of the woodworks now with
Yeah,
a
exactly.
big F you.
Exactly. It's almost like you're seeing politicians not recognize that they're in politics, and politics means don't
And
do things that,
by them being so hard, by them being so hard on them, now they brought up that the Speaker of the House in Tennessee, he's having an affair with some woman. He's has a house in a different county, and he wasn't supposed to be in that administration. He owes back taxes.
yeah, that I
But
didn't
see,
know,
none
but
of this
yeah.
would have been brought up if he hadn't made a big fuss.
Yeah, no, exactly. You do get a lot of that rebound effect, and yeah, I mean, the overall scene, as I see it, the only problem is that it's constant, because there are so many injustices and things. Yeah, I wish they were moving a little more quickly. That's all I can say. But
Like you said, it moves slowly.
it does. I mean, this is that part. It amazes me. I mean, I've heard people call Mary Garland a coward, and then I think, well, I'd like to see you be the primo prosecutor in the country. Prosecutors are careful. They don't go to court unless they can win. That's what Alvin Bragg did. You know, he just looked at all the papers carefully, looked at everything carefully, and then he put it in the court's hands. You don't go there unless you can prove it. But
And
that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Be really
Right.
careful, right? Because
And Merrick Garland had to get rid of the riffraff.
yeah, no, and the idea of building a case to a really high profile figure, it's even worse than when you're building it against a common criminal, although he's a common criminal too, but that's a other thing. But even so, it takes longer, but it takes them long even when it's someone ordinary. They don't just, if there's any doubt, they spend a lot of time because they know that it's very damaging to go in and then lose, right? And you saw, by the way, this was how Dominion was really effective. They really worked at it to make a case, and they put
sure did.
Fox in a box. And Fox is a very powerful entity compared to Dominion, but it didn't save them.
No, it sure didn't. Oh,
pursue it enough.
they're going to make a movie out of this.
Oh no, yeah, I look forward to the day when they make a Trump series. It'll be like a 7-year series with it'll make Succession look like it'll make it look like peanuts, in comparison. That, by the way, that's a great series. Succession is great. I think it's a great takeoff on Fox News because the patriarch head of the company is the idea of Murdoch,
Right.
being in charge and so forth. But you really get a peek at that attitude of living as a billionaire, and the rules don't apply to you and so forth.
That's it. The rules don't apply to them.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
how they live. The rules don't apply. We can lie as much as you want, and then just step over it. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I wish that, I'm a little disappointed in that. I am pretty sure Dominion could have gotten more money out of them. I think if Dominion had said, no, it's $1 billion or nothing, you don't put up $1 billion, we're not doing this, right?
Well, listen to this. Dominion is an $80 million company.
Oh no, they're small. I know. Yeah.
So they could have gone very easily, had a full trial, gotten that money, maybe even more. They could have got punitive damages. But the reason they did this, well, first of all, they were trying to work with Fox News, and Fox News was lowballing them.
Yeah,
lowballing them. So, but now just pretend it's your company. Fox News comes back and says, listen, we'll give a sort of apology, but we will pay you nearly $800 million, the biggest monetary for this type of situation, cash within the next week. We guarantee the money will be in your hand.
I know, but it's like, that's like one of those moments in life where you have to gauge if they're offering you that and you say, that's a great offer. Make it $1 billion and you have a deal. If not, let's start the trial. They would have given them the $1 billion because $200 million more. Are you kidding?
They wanted that more. They were more upset about having that special counsel look out at them.
Well, the whole thing is no good. Fox did not want Rupert Murdoch on the stand. They don't want him on the stand talking. That's bad. Or the other guys, they start asking Carlson, no, bad idea. So once a group comes to you with that, you have leverage. You don't have to say, no, I want $2 billion, but
but these, this Murdoch's got attorneys galore, and this group that represented it, Dominion told them, the attorney said this when they made their speech. Dominion told them, we really need the money. So if you can hustle up, and then they came back to them and said, they're offering 800 million, take it. Yeah. And they'll pay it within the week. Because this they could have won all kinds of money, just like with Alex Jones, but he's just playing it till the cows come home, and they're not going to have their money.
Okay. But let me ask you a question, right? Suppose now the Dominion had said, no, we want $1 billion. And Fox says, okay, well, then we go to trial. Just go to trial. Give it a few days and watch how they come in with $1 billion. I know they would have done that.
So, but I'm
100%. It was so risky for them, very, very risky. Like they knew it wasn't even so much losing, because they could then appeal. And you're right, Dominion would end up with no money for years. That's true. But to them, the risk was in the next month, and I know this from the chart too, they were going to walk into a total problem. They did the right thing. Fox did exactly what they needed to do, because if they had gone into that trial, there's probably no recovery from that.
No. And the
And
other
so-
thing is we got more to come. So,
Oh yeah, no, it's not over. No.
but let me tell you something. I don't know why I had a psychic flash on Murdoch being furious. They're paying out the money. He wanted it off the table. Like he's saying, take
Mhm.
this away. I understand Dominion's place. Okay. If they
Mhm.
had the money and they weren't worried about it, they could have made this thing go on till the end of time. But I see Murdoch almost wanting heads to roll. So I don't know what that means.
Well, I heard someone say, which is correct, it's true, that of all things, remember that misogynist, horrible Roger Ailes back in the day, and yet Roger Ailes was establishing guardrails. He stopped. Remember Glenn Beck, that crazy nut job, saying it was every night he would create these pictures of insanity. Finally, Roger Ailes threw him out. Then he would always call up O'Reilly, another misogynist. They eventually fired O'Reilly too. So there were guardrails. Even though Roger Ailes was horrible, they had rules, and you didn't cross those lines. Lately, they had no rules.
Yeah.
Like, so they need someone, which obviously isn't Murdoch, because Murdoch maybe is too old or doesn't pay attention. I don't know, but they need someone to set some rules in there and say, no, we can't be saying things that are completely untrue.
Someone to put them in check to make sure they're not doing those outrageous lies.
Yeah, well, and I think, by the way, this is another, we'll see, but I think it's another positive thing for the 24 election, because now you have all these outfits like OAN, Newsmax. They know if you start talking too much.
Newsmax is getting sued next, by the way.
Right, and I'm hoping that Lindell has a problem there with his chart. If he gets hit really hard, maybe he'll stop talking, because these people go on TV and they, rabble rouse like that, and they cause a lot of problems. They're pigs fly. Which pigs? Oh, I see them all the time. I'll show you the evidence tomorrow. The evidence is coming tomorrow. And they keep going like this. It's brutal,
It's
so
brutal.
I think of it as positive, but again, patience, everyone. That's all I can say.
You notice you're not hearing the tapping of dog feet? My babies are at the beauty parlor right now. At the
They're getting their nails trimmed.
the groomer. And when I was taking them, they're all happy to go. La 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 la. And then as soon as we get up to the door, like, oh shoot, we don't want to be here. What was so funny is as we were going, they like to take a quick little break, restroom break, I'll be doggone if Jack didn't lift his leg and piss right on his sister's head.
Oh my God.
Just lifted his leg and I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
It's a dog's life.
My groomer said, well, if he's going to do it, it's good now because she's getting ready to have a bath.
It's funny. Dogs are so funny that way. They react to what when they see some will know when you're taking them already. That they're
No,
going to.
not these dogs. And I had a dog before this, happy, till they got to the door. And then they realized, oh, shoot, no, we don't want to be here. That's when they start doing the moonwalk. They're backtracking. And so I have to walk in like I'm going in too. Then they'll come in and then I run out.
Wow. By the way, my apologies. Last statement for last week. Remember we did the meeting at my channel, and there was all that noise. And
oh yeah, one person wrote me and said, there was sort of, and I said somebody was doing something next door.
I heard this. The comments I saw were some were really funny because they were saying things like, sounds like they're inside a motorboat. Things like that. sounds like there's a nuclear war going on. Things like that. So, but it was just nothing I could do.
Yeah,
coincided on the day.
So I'll see you next week. Hopefully, we have some hot gossip.
All right, sounds good. All right.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, everyone.